Kyle Dubas has absolutely rocked Leafs Nation, including the rest of the hockey world, as he went out today and made 3 separate trades. This guy was on the 2 phones at the draft yet again, making moves like nobody's business. Sandin, gone. Engvall, gone. Gustaffson in. First-round picks. Luke Schenn on their way to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Breaking down all of the trades and a whole lot more. What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. Huge news breaks today as 3 separate occasions as Kyle Dubas goes out and makes 3 different trades today, shaking up the hockey world, especially us here at Leafs Digest. We'll break that all down, get into the Sandin trade, the Engvall trade, the Luke Schenn trade, and as well, what is next for this Leafs team. It'll all be broken down throughout the course of this video, and if you enjoy the content, please make sure to hit subscribe to this channel. We're trying to get to 5K subscribers by the playoff time. Every single subscriber on this channel really counts. We really appreciate everyone who shows support, likes these videos as well after the video is done, or if you hear something during the video that you like, you disagree with, you have an opinion on, make sure to let us know in the comments below. We are happy to see them all. We do occasionally bring them up on live streams going forward, but nonetheless, it sparks conversation with Leafs fans in the comments, so we look forward to seeing that and try to reply to as many of those. But if you are here right now, you have not hit subscribe, please make sure to hit subscribe on this channel as well as liking this video. Let's get into it, and we will start with the first news of the day, the Rasmus Sandin trade. So, the Rasmus Sandin trade. I'm at work, finished recording an episode of something that I was doing, look at my phone, and I see a tweet from Mark Masters. Looks like Rasmus Sandin has been pulled off the ice. Non-injury related reason, he's not with any medical staff. 10 seconds later, in comes a tweet from Elliotte Friedman. Rasmus Sandin is on his way to the Washington Capitals. And that was some exciting news for Leafs fans today, as they're kind of sat there wondering what was going to go on. And then you see the full trade come in. Rasmus Sandin to the Washington Capitals in exchange for Erik Gustaffson and Boston's first-round pick in 2023. So if you're wondering how that all happened, when the Bruins traded for Dmitry Orlov, they sent over this first-round pick. Washington, in turn, flips it around for Rasmus Sandin coming the other way. Now the Leafs have Boston's first-round pick in this year's coming draft. Now, what this trade does essentially is it freed up $600,000 in cap space, but I think for every Leafs fan out there, we sat there and went, this can't be the end. There's more trades coming. If you remember yesterday, Frank Saravelli did put out a tweet essentially saying, connecting dots on Leafs cap after McCabe Lafferty trade. Toronto's not planning to activate Matt Murray until the playoffs, or Toronto is now moving one of Kerfoot, Engvall, or Hall before the deadline. Seems to be some smoke recently with Kerfoot and the Canucks. So we basically sat there and said, hey, something else is coming down the pipeline. And it turns out it was. And there was more than we even expected. And Sandin was the first domino to fall. Now, we've seen different reports throughout the day today that hearing Rasmus Sandin wasn't overly happy with his time in Toronto over the last little while. He was looking for an opportunity to get out. That comes here. He was getting pushed down the lineup. Hasn't really been playing that well over the last month and a half. So you go and make this trade. It still feels underwhelming. Yeah, he didn't really want to be here. We did just sign him to a 2-year deal. Now you've gone out, saved $600,000 on an expiring contract for Erik Gustaffson, who's going to be out of here likely at the end of this season. So why? What are we doing? Well, for me, I continue to sit here and look at it and say more is coming, more is coming. And obviously 2 more trades followed that. But I think one thing that's important, and I would love to speculate on this, but truthfully, guys, I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't even want to, because the moves Kyle Dubas is pulling out right now are so ridiculous, I can't figure anything out. I have no idea what's happening next, who's coming in, what position they're going to look to attack next. So I don't have a clue. But I will say this, with regards to that, I still think more is coming on this, because you saved the $600K by switching out Sandin, but you got a first-round pick, and we're hearing a lot of talk about different teams around the league right now still looking for first-round picks for other players, whether it be for defensemen, rental forwards, maybe a forward with an extra year of term, or if you want someone to accrue some of the cap that you're trading for on that player, likely you're going to look to have to move a first-round pick, and you just went out and got one back. I think that could be an important piece moving forward. So as far as Rasmus Sandin goes, look, I liked him. I like the development that we saw out of him, but you're looking at a left side here in Toronto that can be fairly competitive to get into. You're looking at Morgan Riley, Giordano, Brody could play the left side, McCabe can play the left side. Now you bring in Gustaffson, he can play the left side. You still have Jordy Ben here. There's a lot of options down the left, and Sandin was a guy that was essentially hanging on and basically saying, Toronto was essentially saying, we don't know if we're going to be able to trust this guy in the playoffs. Maybe we look to go somewhere else, and we don't want to just have a guy sitting there pissed off. Let's go and get something with it. They do. And hopefully, we're going to be looking at a spot here where they're going to use those picks, that player, maybe that some of that cap space, whatever it is, in future trades. But we sat there and said it doesn't seem over. We see a tweet from Chris Johnson, and he basically tweets out saying, industry is saying, everyone around the league in this industry right now is saying the Toronto Maple Leafs aren't done. Well, it took about 10 minutes later, and then guess what we saw? The Pierre Engvall trade. Now, Pierre Engvall has obviously been a hot topic here in Toronto. Is he a guy that can hang around? Is he a guy you'd like to have in your playoff lineup? Well, the Toronto Maple Leafs obviously sat here and said, we like what he is as a player. We like what he brings. We like him as a person. We like the money that we've got him signed for because we signed the contract. But ultimately, he ain't going to fit here. So they trade him to the New York Islanders for a third-round pick in 2023. Now, this is something that is important that I will bring up later when discussing this. Adding on the Islanders' third-round pick this year in 2023 for Pierre Engvall, first and foremost, you save yourself $2.25 million in cap space. That is one thing that gets opened up there. So you're looking at that Frank Saravelli tweet from yesterday. Well, moving on from Engvall here, you do open up that space for Matt Murray to come back and rejoin this lineup. The other thing that you do here is open up space for more players to come in. Look, I liked Pierre Engvall. I liked his game, but he didn't really have an offensive presence. And one of the big things that we saw happen last year is when his offensive ability got taken away, he was essentially an ineffective player for this Leafs team in the playoffs. There was no physicality that he could bring. There was no real shot blocking or crazy defensive presence, maybe like a guy like David Kampf out of Engvall's game. So ultimately, Engvall moves on to the Islanders. You free up A contract space, B, space for forwards, and C, $2.25 million in cap space. So that is obviously pretty important, but you do get back a third-round pick. And now, this is where I'm going to go with this on the importance of that third-round pick. The immediately following trade, the Luke Schenn trade. Toronto was obviously a team that has been in on Luke Schenn for the last little while. We keep hearing Luke Schenn to Toronto. Could he come back? Is this a guy that we could bring here? He's a UFA at the end of the season. He was willing to sign a contract extension in Vancouver, and who knows? Maybe he goes back thereafter. But the Toronto Maple Leafs trade their third-round pick in 2023 to acquire him. Now, why I said the importance of the other third-round pick? Well, I mean, it's not by a lot, but guess what? Toronto's third-round pick this year just got better. Toronto improved their third-round pick in 2023 by acquiring the Islanders one and moving out their own. They sat there and said, you know what? We don't need 2 third-round picks, and we just got a better third-round pick from the Islanders because however we finish in the regular season, we're going to be ahead of them, and we will take on our third-round pick, as we believe we will go farther than the Islanders here as well. So we'll take on theirs, we'll get a better pick, and we'll move on from ours to make our team better right now, and that's what they did by acquiring Luke Schenn. Now, Luke Schenn is obviously a veteran guy. He's played here before. He's a physical, heavy presence. He's a guy who's going to make himself felt. He can block shots, he can move bodies, and he's a veteran guy who's won Stanley Cups before with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So he's got that experience, he's got that grit, and maybe there's an extra little bit of pride or passion in him for having been a guy who started his career here with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And he says, you know what? It's time to go back to Toronto. Let's get it done. Let's go for the cup. So, as far as each of these trades, it's not the craziest little trade individually. The first one was very unexpected because you sit here and say, wow, can't believe we moved on from Rasmus Sandin. Well, you know what? Ultimately, he was not very happy here. He wanted an opportunity to move on. You save cap space on it, and you get a first-round pick that you could potentially, and I'm going to go out on a limb and predict, will be used as a leverage or trade piece ahead of or on this deadline this season. I don't think this Leafs team is done yet. I think they just got another asset for a player that wasn't really going to see much ice time in the playoffs. You looked at heavier veteran guys. You went out and you got them, and you said Sandin gets pushed down this lineup. Let's go and get something for him rather than just having him sit on the sidelines or having him sit there and now his value is diminished where someone says, you're not playing that guy. We're not giving you a first. We'll give you a second. We'll give you a third. We'll give you whatever. You get a player, you save money, and you get a first-round pick from the Washington Capitals for Rasmus Sandin, who didn't really want to be here. Pierre Engvall, a peripheral guy that everyone has kind of said, he needs to move on. We need to get rid of him. Well, you get rid of him. You upgrade your own third-round pick. You save $2.25 million in cap space, and then you're able to go turn around and trade your own third-round pick for Luke Schenn, who's going to come in here and be a veteran presence on defense. Now, the final piece to all of this, the most interesting thing to me, and the one reason I was even hesitant to come on here, because I'm basically sitting here staring at my phone waiting for more notifications to come in about what this Leafs team is doing, is I don't think they're done. As it stands right now, here are the defensemen we have. Not in any particular order, just a list of the guys on this team. Morgan Rielly, TJ Brody, Mark Giordano, Timothy Liljegren, Jake McCabe, Justin Hall, Erik Gustaffson, and Luke Schenn. 8 defensemen. That doesn't include Timmins, Ben, or Victor Mete. Had to think about that one for a second. Slipped my mind. Hasn't played in a while. But there's extra 3 defensemen sitting there. So you're technically at 11 defensemen for this Leafs team. I think more moves are coming. I think we could potentially see a guy like Justin Hall go out the door. You move a guy like Luke Schenn up to the 6th defenseman spot. Keep Gustavsson as the 7. And then maybe, just maybe, you flip around one of those that first-round pick and maybe a guy like Alex Kerfoot going out the door to acquire another top 6 forward. That is my bold prediction. I think we might see something like that go down over the next couple of days. I'm looking at guys like Travis Konechny, Tyler Bertuzzi, or if you want to get crazy, maybe, just maybe, the Toronto Maple Leafs go after Jacob Chychrun. I don't know about that one. That one is out on a limb to me. I think that one is a bold, hot take. I understand it, but Leafs fans, let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the trades today. Do you think Kyle Dubas is done? What more could we see from this team? How does this work for you? And are you happy with the trades that went on here today? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the content, please make sure to subscribe to this channel, like this video. Let me know your thoughts. But Leafs fans, thank you guys so much for tuning in here today. Things are very exciting as we approach this trade deadline. We will continue to break it all down here on this channel, as well as predicting what may come up and our live streams after games. So make sure to come on here, hit subscribe, like this video. Greatly appreciate you doing that, showing support. Leafs fans, I'm excited about this. I think this Leafs team is in a very, very good position right now to go into the playoffs and do some damage. This could be the year. Keep believing.